Welcome, everyone. I am Jason with the McCann Whiskey Company, and I'm happy to be here. And thank you to everyone that put this together. Everybody from Razor and Chris McGrath, Paige, and Toby, and we'll thank yous at the end. But just want to introduce myself where I'm starting out and just doing a little introduction, talking about what's in your box. You got a nice bottle of whiskey, one of my newest whiskeys that's out. McCann whiskey, McCann feather in the cap. We also have, you should have gotten a nice package of dried fruits from DiGiacomo Specialty Foods, and a nut variety and a chocolate variety. So we'll go through them throughout this, webinar, and we're going to be talking about, past, present, and future. And, just go through the whiskeys, and I will be ending each past, present, and future. And then that's when we'll crack open the whiskey after the first quarter. So, Toby, if you wanted to introduce your whole thing, go for it.
Just so we're going to have Al Jordan here from Razor Tech, and there I see Tom Reynolds.
Hey guys.
And then we got Tim Dean from NetApp. And they're going to talk a little bit about the pairing of NetApp and Microsoft and Razor. And we're going to interweave that with some whiskey tasting and just have a little bit of a conversation and a good time.
So, yeah, that's great. Welcome to the to Razor Technology and NetApp, the whiskey in the clouds. And we're going to talk about a lot of different things, have some fun. Feel free to chime in on any different, segment that you would like to chime in on. Ask any questions you like. We're here to have fun, do something a little different, spice it up, and, have a nice little happy hour 4 to 6. So, with that, and pass it over to the talk about the past.
Great. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Tom Reynolds. Apologize, I was a few minutes late there. We had some technical concerns, but I'm here now, so let's enjoy our time. So as everyone said, we're going to talk a bit about Microsoft, Razor, and NetApp today. I'd like to start out with just a kind of a bit of history. I know a lot of you are familiar with Razor, where we come from, how we have come to work so closely with both NetApp and Razor. But just as a refresher, we started out. Probably 17 years ago at this point. And our first partner was NetApp. We were, I'm sorry, am I echoing? Sorry.
I'm not hearing any echo.
Sorry, I got an alert pop up and I heard a bit of an echo, so I thought my audio may have been acting up. But as I was saying, so we started out with NetApp as one of our primary partners about 16, 17 years ago. Back then, NetApp was storage. Razor was a storage, VAR hardware provider. We did the traditional thing back then, and it was great. We helped each other grow. We were strategic partners, and we did a lot of great things together for a lot of customers. But as time has progressed, obviously the market has changed and expanded a little bit. Razor is the same way. We've basically grown into cloud services. We've grown out of the data center into an array of services, both in the cloud space and still the data center space, as well as managed services. On the Microsoft cloud space, I'm going to pass it over to Al for a few minutes to talk about kind of how Razor got to where we are in the Microsoft Azure space, and a little bit of what we do and where our strengths lie in that. Al, do you want to pick it up and talk about that for a few minutes?
Sure, thanks, Tom. So as Tom said, Razor kind of became aware that the managed services was kind of the way to go. So we looked at the cloud piece of the Razor cloud, but we also realized that there was a big chunk of that entire cloud ecosystem that we were missing out on. So we acquired a company that gave us the Microsoft capabilities, and that partnership was born because that company had a very rich history that became Razor's history of a long partnership with Microsoft. That happened about 2016. So ever since then, we've been working very closely with Microsoft as a partner. We've expanded the services that we're providing in our partnership, and we've basically expanded our competencies. Razor is a gold partner with 10 competencies now within the Microsoft environment, and it's been a great partnership. And also, we kind of sit between, the Razor, Microsoft, and NetApp working environment, and it allows us as Razor to become and interject ourselves with our clients to make sure that they're getting the best of everyone's solutions. And that's kind of our role with our partnership with the clients. But to talk more about, NetApp in general, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Tim.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everybody. So Tim Dean, I'm a cloud solution architect manager here at NetApp. So I've been here about 9.5 years, and I did a lot of partnership with Razor. Indeed, I was part of some of the original, cloud deals that we were putting together back when I was an architect and when I wasn't managing and forgot all that stuff already. But as long as we're talking past, present, and future, so if you think of NetApp, if you think of us through sort of that lens of our legacy products and solutions, you'll probably think of us as, a company that delivers amazing data storage solutions, but in a hardware-based form factor, right? You probably think of our fabric attached storage or FAS arrays. You'll think of the all-flash FAS arrays that basically exactly the same sort of value proposition and operating system, but in an all-flash form factor. You may even think of things like our E-series storage arrays, where we have we deliver record-breaking throughput and IOPS for block storage, and our StorageGrid Web Scale, which is basically our own homegrown object platform that can scale to the cloud as well, including Azure Blob. But most likely, when you think of NetApp, if you're aware of us, you would think of our Data ONTAP operating system, or simply ONTAP, which has really stood the test of time, as it's been continually updated for almost 30 years now, which is hard to believe. Take advantage of new technologies such as Flash, such as NVRAM, increased network speeds, and upgrading to cluster mode, right, which allowed us to join together dozens of systems to act as one single storage array, all while providing rock solid performance, data protection, disaster recovery, secure multi-tenancy, right, everything you'd expect from enterprise storage. Through it all, we've partnered with Microsoft on integration with their CIFS and SMB protocols, right, for Windows workloads. We've partnered with them on a software suite for data protection, right, for their Microsoft software suite, essentially data protection enablement, and now today with their Azure cloud for data management. So that's sort of where we were in the past. That's what most people would think of us when they think of NetApp, and it's a fine legacy, right? We're very proud of it. But when we get to discuss the present and the future in a few minutes, that's where things get really interesting, and that's where we can sort of turn up the volume. But so for now, we'll kick it back over to, I guess we'll go to Jason for maybe a tasting and a pairing.
Thank you, Tim. And and we're going to do a little pass of Pops McCann. But first, I'm not going to forget. Sometimes I do, and I do it later. Pour some whiskey for the past, the ancestors. And you can crack your whiskey. I will be pouring my ancestors a little taste or two for symbolism of the past. I always honor the past. I was at the cemetery this weekend filming a new commercial with my children and trying to teach them the past, so that when I, as we go out through life and teaching the next generations, we can tell them what the past is so you can move towards the future. With your snack specialty foods, you can now, pull out your nuts and your dried fruits and pour out your whiskey, whether it be, you want to taste it straight. Now, I kind of do like a 3-part pour, and I poured in a glass. I taste it straight. This is 100 proof. Like I said, be very careful in the beginning before we had everyone. It's 100 proof. And it's a 2.5-year Kentucky bourbon. It's got a nice, tasting notes from Kentucky, huge caramel smell to it, nice and gentle for 100 proof. If you're not a whiskey drinker that drinks whiskey all the time, take it easy. It's okay if it kind of shocks you a little bit. Take a very little sip. You can just put a little small amount on the tongue. I do Pops McCann does like a 3-part taste. and just maybe a little bit in the glass, you taste it, a little bit of a drop of water in it to open it up, taste it, and then you can also finish it off and have a nice ice ball, cubes, or anything like that to bring down the proof naturally. If you were here last time, or during this discussion that you like 80 proof and not the 100 proof, it is pretty powerful. I'm used to it, but not everybody is. You can add natural good water, like get a nice good bottle of water, and you can add every ounce of whiskey that's 100 proof. You can add about 0.25 ounces to every ounce of the whiskey to bring it down naturally to that 80 proof. And so you can mix and match the snacks and the fruit, and just you're going to taste different tasting notes from the snacks, the salty and the sweet. And then you're going to go and you're going to taste the caramel and how it blends all together. And it's nice, it's relaxing, and we'll get into the chocolate in a little bit. And so you can do that as I'm talking. Pops McCann's passed. We all have ancestors. Yesterday we celebrated St. Patrick's Day, a big ancestry day. We've now turned it into a month for the Irish, the American Irish, the trailblazers in the New World. But no matter what your ethnicity is, you have ancestors that came on the ships, and the ships are very meaningful because not everybody of our families made it. Not everybody, was able to make that full journey. And, just like the technology of solutions, they were trying to find solutions of their, the crazy times that they were in. And, for the Irish and my ancestors, it was the Great Famine. There was nothing great about it. It was, pretty much a genocide and starvation of food, but that's the past. Sometimes negatives turn into positives, right? You have, you're hitting your head against the wall of maybe this technology stuff where you're just like, man, I need these solutions or this and that. Sometimes a negative turns into positive. And that's why we're having some fun, whiskey in the cloud, learning about technology. And but the past is, and the positive for me and my family, just like your family and your ancestors of the past, that we are alive. And sometimes we forget that. We forget that we are alive, and all these little happenstances of life had to have happened for us to be alive. And the past is so gracious if we look at it. Hopefully everybody is healthy and doing the best they can in these crazy tumultuous times. We look back into the past to see what our ancestors had to endure. And right around the Spanish flu, the guy on the bottle that everybody has, that's John Francis McCann, my great grandfather. He was born in Scranton in 1893. He was a coal miner, just like his father was a coal miner. And right around 1917, another negative turns into a positive down the road. But the negative is his mother, Jenny Turrell, passes away on December 10th, 1917. And he does all the burial services, and he, finishes whatever he has to finish up there, leaves the coal mines, jumps on a train. I developed another whiskey about that, the train whistle wheat. And this one is the Feather in the Cap. But he jumps on a train, moves to Philadelphia, meets his wife, who's on the back, and the big, nice portrait on the back. And this is my hopefully soon to be famous speech that I do. My daughter actually just did this speech in the cemetery with a cool song and a walk up. But, it's all about the past, no matter what it is. We have to learn from it. We have to learn from the past of the technology and how far that has come, how far whiskey has come. Just touching on the whiskey factor is whiskey today, in my opinion. I grew up in a bar since I was 3-4 years old. I actually had a bedroom in the basement and actually had a secret compartment wall in Philadelphia where I was born and raised. When someone mentioned the door there, and bedroom in the basement, learning from the past and grasping what you're good at, what and learning from that. And I think like the big thing is whiskey's evolving, technology is evolving, and we're ever changing, and we have to try to keep up with that change and with the past. And just like with all the clients and all the technology changing, let's now hear about the present day we have with everyone here. And now we'll go to Tim.
All right, yes, sir. So contrasting what I talked about before, right, about NetApp. So today, the way we would like you to think of NetApp is think of us as a cloud-led, data-centric software company. So we realize that our customers and our partners are changing, much like Al and others discussed earlier, Tom. And so the bottom line is that we realize we have to change as well. So cloud and hybrid cloud are obviously the new reality, and that's the new future. The world's increasingly pivoting to this hybrid cloud ecosystem, but what still maintains the same today from the past is that data is really at its core, because no matter what your applications do, no matter what you devise the cloud to do for you, or a hybrid cloud environment, without data behind it, it really doesn't provide much value, right? So data still sits at the core of that. But at the same time, customers are now looking for, the same kind of simplicity, scalability, performance, and obviously with, security sort of overriding everything, in the cloud that they have been used to getting on premises. We know that about 87% of enterprises have a hybrid cloud strategy, right? So we've been embracing that reality for years. So that might sound strange coming from a company like NetApp, but it's entirely true. So we're laser focused on moving from an infrastructure and systems type of company to a services and a consumption company. And there's no greater partners for that kind of world than we have with Microsoft and with Razor to basically help customers with that journey, that digital transformation. So, whereas long ago we realized that the software is what actually provides the real value to our customers. Everyone, let's face it, we all kind of use the same disks underneath the subsystems, right? It's what you do on top of that. It's the software that you provide on top of that provides the value. So with that, in Azure, we've got several solutions. Hopefully you're familiar with some of them, but we've got Cloud Volumes ONTAP, or CVO, which is essentially taking that data ONTAP operating system that we've been refining for 30 years and moving it into the cloud to run as a virtual machine. And it uses the Azure disks and the Azure infrastructure underneath it as if it's our own. And then we've got Azure NetApp Files, which is really kind of the opposite of that. It's taking the whole hardware, the whole array, and sticking it inside, all flash arrays inside the Microsoft data center, and making that available as a fully managed service to customers. We've got things like Cloud Backup Service, which allows you to basically back up either your on-prem storage or your Azure-based storage to Azure Blob, right? So now you can just basically point to your on-prem storage or the stuff that you're running in Azure, and it will back it up to Blob for you automatically and manage all those snapshots for you. We've got Sas Backup for Office 365, which provides data protection for your entire Office 365 environment. Again, it's backed up to Azure, so it's put on sort of a separate fault domain and managed by a fully managed service with very little maintenance and very little hands-on management to do and perform. And again, Razor's a big partner of ours with the Sas Backup product. And then finally, we've got Cloud Insights. Cloud Insights gives you complete visibility into your infrastructure and your applications. So with Cloud Insights, you can monitor, troubleshoot, optimize all of your resources and your applications across your entire technology stack, whether it's on-prem, whether it's in the cloud, whether it resides on NetApp infrastructure or not. It's really storage agnostic. You can look at almost any storage infrastructure and sort of monitor, manage that for you, and give you insights into new efficiencies and even give you suggestions on what is maybe the best to move into a cloud environment. So as long as we're talking about pairings, right? Why not pair up some of these technologies? Why not, for example, combine Cloud Volumes ONTAP, the NetApp storage with your on-prem storage, right? So give you that truly seamless hybrid environment. And why not add in some Cloud Backup service to that as well? So as long as you're doing that, you might as well back that all up to one place, right, in Azure Blob. How about we pair up ANF, the Azure NetApp Files, with cross-region replication, right? That gives you full disaster recovery capability in the cloud. So it can basically replicate all of your data that sits in one region and seamlessly replicate it to another using, again, our extremely efficient snapshot technology. So now you've got true disaster recovery in another region for your whole data set. And then finally, you can pair either one of them with Cloud Compliance. So Cloud Compliance is again a software application that basically can scan your entire data footprint, whether it's structured data in Oracle, SQL, MongoDB, whether it's unstructured data that sits in just file shares in standard files, even Office files, and it can basically scan all that for like HIPAA information, for GDPR, compliance, for CC, for California Customer Privacy Act compliance, a host of different compliance, standards that we have to comply with, and it can basically tell you where you have potential violations or where that personally identifiable information exists inside your data set. So really, I know I threw a lot out there. The bottom line is that, the pairings of NetApp and Razor, along with Microsoft, are really as good as anything you're going to get in your local whiskey or wine bar, and almost as good as we're getting here with the Pops McCann feather in your cap. So with that, I'll turn that over to Al.
Thanks, Tim. So, when we talk about the cloud in general, and why all of a sudden the organizations and people like ourselves are focusing on the cloud, is because when you talk about traditional data centers and maintaining that footprint, it's capital expenditures, and capital expenditures are never popular. I was CIO for 15 years before I joined Razor, and it was always a battle when it came time to do that server refresh, because it's not $50,000, $100,000. It's millions of dollars when you start talking about refreshing the equipment in your data center. And because of that lack of predictability and the just unwillingness to expend those capital funds, anytime you can move expenses to operational expenses, interject predictability, interject scalability, it just becomes a logical choice for CIOs and executives, other executives within the organization. Any debate around the usefulness of the public cloud, I think COVID kind of killed that. If you were not ready to utilize some sort of cloud-based infrastructure, whether it be public or private cloud, you found yourselves in a bit of a predicament, last year. And hopefully we never experience anything like that, across the world, but it's more than likely that, that possibility exists. And as a lasting effect from that, people realize, who all along thought they had to be physically, in their office to conduct their business, realize that, we may not need all this brick and mortar. We may not need all the real estate that we're paying for. And, the lasting, from a technology perspective, the lasting results of this will be, there will be more people working remotely. The expansion to the cloud and remote solutions for mobile device management, because now you have people's homes PC you need to kind of take consideration of. You need to make sure your corporate data is secure there, or that data is only accessed, that data resides in the cloud and is only accessed from that PC with nothing remaining on the PC. All these considerations are now things that are real and happen suddenly, but now we have to, make those plans and adjustments so that, in this present time and for the future, we're prepared for, working remotely and having data and access to our technologies through the cloud. You think about, school systems and distance learning, how many, going to elementary school and high school and junior high, did you ever think that, your kids would never have the experience of stepping inside the classroom, or it would be curtailed for a while? That had to be done remotely all of a sudden, and it's done through cloud-based technologies. And to an extent, a lot of that is not going to change. Tom, do you want to talk about, kind of Razor's influence in helping our customers get to the cloud and our cloud activities?
Sure thing. Yeah, Al, as you guys were saying, what we're seeing now is, and COVID has brought a lot of this home to roost. It's kind of, it pushed a lot of people forward in ways that, I think that they knew they had to get to. Maybe they didn't necessarily want to get to it quite when they did, or how they had to, but everybody knows that, cloud is where we're heading, and that's where we need to get to. What we find as a partner helping people get there, though, is oftentimes, people have a challenge figuring out exactly how it is that they're going to get there. And that's where some of the tools that we've talked about really come into play for the present. Now, after Jason talks a little bit more, and we have another taste, and we eat probably some chocolate next time, I think. We're going to talk about the future, but we're not at the future yet. So what we're seeing right now in terms of a present is, again, people that grappling with with that concern of how do I bridge the gap? Where's my migration? Where's my motion? I know that, I can do anything from, backups as a service to, infrastructure service, all the way up to platform as a service, software as a service. But I've got everything that I've spent, the last 10, 15, 20 years building, and it's on-prem. It started to bridge, but how do I start merging those together? And we'll talk about that more, as I said, in the future section. But the technologies that we're talking about today, at least, as a welcome side effect, if not necessarily the, pure intent of them, one of the things that they're very good at is helping to bridge that gap. So in the case of NetApp, for example, we talked about cloud volumes and all of those kind of items. And, the needs and the benefits are very well spoken to. But what it comes down to from a functional point of view for present is that it bridges that gap between what you're currently in and what you need to get to. So customers that we have for years spent time helping build a great on-prem NetApp environment. Well, they're comfortable with the security and the operations and the environment that NetApp brings to them, but now they want to move items to Azure. And how do I ensure that? Well, this is that bridge. You can use the same technologies, the same protocols, the same environments that you've been using on-prem, and use these extension offerings that are NetApp running in the cloud to bridge that gap and get that motion going. Now, that's going to lead to, as I said, some of the future technologies that we're going to talk about next. But for now, they're working as a bridge. That's where we get from present to future, and it's basically the ability of those offerings to kind of straddle that line between what we've always been doing and what we know we have to do and where we're headed to. That being on-prem on one side, cloud on the other side. But I'm getting dangerously close to the future talk here, and I want to save that for a minute. And I also know that we've been talking, so I can almost feel everybody looking at that whiskey and waiting for the next taste. So, Jason, I'm going to pass it back over to you to MC us through that a little bit and take it away.
No problem. Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. And we talked about the past and a little bit about the present. And one thing McCann wants to do here is put some quality, integrity, and honor into these whiskeys. I look back into the past to try to solve, whiskey solutions. And, recent present, I had this whiskey out for 3 years, actually the 10th of March, and it was a very spiritual whiskey. And we talked about that last time. And maybe one day we'll talk about the rest. We have some very eager plans to taste more whiskeys, but the honor, the integrity of it, and coming out and finding the new whiskey solutions. In the past year, I had to evolve, and I launched 4 new whiskeys January 1st, and I've been looking for new distribution channels. I've been trying to find an all-in-one solution of a whiskey suitcase that you see here, where I can actually try my best to knock off everybody's palate and what they best like and taste. A lot of the people love the original. And then I stepped it up a little bit with different proofs, different styles. The first one was from Ireland that comes in a spiritual journey that we talked about the first time. This one is from Kentucky, bourbon country, the heartbeat of America. And, the American dream that we all have here, and we all, like I said, we all have those ancestors. And I put a lot of symbolism into the whiskeys to try to, gain some of that momentum. And, I had to evolve in the past year, like I said, and now I can deliver these in Pennsylvania, door to door. You put an order in. It's just finding the easier button solutions for my whiskey company, just like the technology here that we're discussing is it kind of goes hand in hand a little bit. It's whiskey. It's a little crazy with the whiskey, but then the technology, keeping you guys safe and keeping your information safe. I had to, evolve and think of new and better ways to think about things in the present. And, everybody's home now. And, trying to, reach people. I called them ghost drops, and trying to reach people without any contact and, trying to keep everybody safe. And, and we're all doing the best we can here, but, it's like the easier buttons trying to, move forward better with what we know, especially in the past year, and what our hardworking ancestors have gone through in the past, and learning from all of that. But the world of whiskey has changed, and it's getting better and better and better, and it's evolving. And there's single barrels, there's proofs, and I got a lot of stuff to talk about in the future. But this one right here is the 2.5-year Feather in the Cap Kentucky bourbon. Explained a little bit about it. There's one key ingredient, and everything that is of value, has these key ingredients. And this whiskey, one of them is that it's a Prohibition style. And I try to, reminisce with the 20s and early 30s of fun, style. It was crazy back then. And believe me, you see all the movies and they're like, I don't have a Tommy gun in that closet or nothing. But, I've done things to be fun. I'm also an actor too. So I kind of put on the play and the show. But this whiskey it gets shipped from Kentucky, in a truck in barrels and goes to Bellefonte, Pennsylvania. And sorry about that. Sorry.
Somebody's calling for a delivery, Jason. I mean, you shouldn't tell people you do door-to-door
Let me
whiskey.
put my phone on Do Not Disturb. That would have been smart, right? Sorry about that. My apologies. I was scrambling trying to get on here in the beginning. But anyway, the barrels come from the truck from Kentucky. I wanted to come with a Kentucky bourbon, and the whiskey comes in this, it was actually supposed to be a young 2-year, be as close as possible to reminiscent of Prohibition style. Everything born Prohibition was at the 100 proof, maybe more. 80 proof comes a little bit later in time, I believe in like the 50s and 60s, where they drop down the proof, the vodkas and stuff. But anyway, this is driven on trucks to the distillery. It comes in 125 proof in the barrel, and it is blended down with the number one ingredient to blend with whiskey is very good natural spring water. And this is like the spring water of natural Pennsylvania, the upstate Scotia Barrens, and one of the top number one rated water sources in Pennsylvania. And it was ecstatic to hear that kind of thing. And the president is launching 4 new whiskeys to go along with the spiritual journey, the Irish one with the corn from France, and honor the ancestors with all this symbolism. And I drove the truck down with all my empty barrels and all the bottles. And it was a lot of fun. And, I was nervous that the truck wasn't making up some of those Bellefonte hills and upstate Pennsylvania hills, but it did. And it got there, and we had all the correct licensing and all that kind of stuff. And but the truck was pretty screaming, and that's a funny story we can save for another time. But the president is here. We're trying to evolve to be better than we were a year ago or 6 months ago in the crazy fear times, and just trying to be a better ourselves every single day. And like I said in the beginning, trying to teach our children and the next generations that we have contact with to be better as well, and also honor the ancestors in the past and the present. And here is the present, so you heard all about the present. Now let's see what the future looks like.
Great. Well, thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. I would like to say I definitely got to get myself a whiskey suitcase. That's an accessory that I feel like everybody needs and that I am sorely lacking in. But at any rate, so we want to talk about kind of the future a little bit. And I touched on this, when talking about the present, but kind of when I sit here and I look back, I think how do we help our customers move forward from that present that we're talking about, where you see this cloud, you have to get there, and your executive management is telling you to be in the cloud, but you just don't know how to bridge that gap. We're at the point where we're helping you with that, but where are we taking you? How are we driving you there? And I hope that I don't get in trouble for calling this out, but I'll use a generic name. I have one of the pictures that's showing up on my panel. There's a guy named Mike who's one of our customers. There are several Mikes on here, so I'm not giving it away. But we started working with Mike about 2 or 3 years ago. He was coming from a legacy application, figuring out how he's going to move it forward and what he needs to do. And we kind of laid out some baby steps, but the ultimate goal was basically our goal is to abstract everything, take it away from where it's running, how it's running, to just what you're running. So, we're talking about past and present, and we're talking about data centers, and we're talking about clouds, and we're talking about migrations and how we get to here from there, how we get there from here, that is. But, we don't, it doesn't necessarily tell us what that looks like. What we want to get to is an environment where it doesn't matter what you're, where you're running, if it's cloud, if it's here, if you want to move it from one to the other, if you get tired of this cloud provider, or somebody, they go under, they have a problem, they have an outage, you want to move it over here. You want everything portable. You want modular technologies that are not going to tie you to any given platform or location. So, everyone knows about microservices of the world, and the Kubernetes and containers and really ephemeral stateless computing and all that kind of stuff. That is the goal. When we look at the future, it sounds cheesy, but it's cloudy with a chance of even more cloud. So what we have to figure out is not how we get there, but once we're there, how we ensure that it doesn't matter where we are if we really get to that stateless environment. So we need to take ourselves away from kind of platforms and methodologies that tie us to any given location, and that's where we see as a future. So eventually this is what we currently call, I would say probably platform as a service, is being able to buy into that generic level. But where it comes back to this discussion is the ability to say, and I'll let Tim talk to this more, but it shouldn't matter where you want to get the security and resiliency and benefits that NetApp brings to you. Doesn't matter where you happen to live at any given moment. If you're in still in a data center, if you're in Azure, if you're in a hybrid cloud, it shouldn't matter. It's all the same. And those are the technologies that we're driving people towards to kind of get to that future gap. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Tim to talk a little more about what NetApp brings to the table in that future space, and how those lines are going to blur, and kind of, how NetApp enables you to move forward in that direction.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Tom. And if the future is cloudy, is cheesy, then I am the king, because my Wi-Fi is literally called "The Future is Cloudy," and my kids roll my eyes at me. Oh, Dad, really? But so I guess I'm right there with you. But yeah, talking about blurring those lines, it's a great lead in. We didn't practice this either, really, but that's a great lead into some of the things. So let's talk about some of the things you mentioned. Kubernetes, right? Containerization. So everybody knows that that's a huge push right now. Containerizing applications, making them portable, the ability to run them basically anywhere on almost any infrastructure, as long as it supports those containers, right? So Kubernetes, the container wars have kind of been decided already. Kubernetes has been declared the winner, I think. I don't know if it's official yet, but it's close to it. And so NetApp's we've got a service that we recently launched called Astra, and that is really a fully managed, application-aware data management service that allows you to basically manage, protect, move your Kubernetes data-rich applications to anywhere, whether that be on-prem or public cloud, in particular Azure. So some of the stuff I'm talking about right now is available sort of right now. We just announced a couple of them yesterday. Some is coming in the very near future. So this is very timely. But anyway, so this Astra basically will allow you to manage any of those Kubernetes containerized environments, back them up, clone them, actually migrate them to another environment. It basically uses that snapshot technology that I talked about to take a data consistent snapshot. It gathers up all of the information about the containers themselves, the pods, the deployments, the nodes that they run on, gathers up all that information, allows you to basically migrate that to, so if you have, for example, a Kubernetes environment running on premises, using Astra, you can essentially take that and migrate those and clone them right into Azure, in the cloud. So amazing stuff. Also, we've got, so Al had talked earlier about virtual desktop, right? The fact that it became extremely critical, right, over the last year. We saw a ton of customers clamoring for it. I know Razor did as well. It's a perfect use case for us with our Azure NetApp Files product, because we can plug directly underneath Windows Virtual Desktop. If you're familiar with how that works, right? They acquired a company called FS Logics, And FS Logix does all that profile management, the containers of your profiles managed behind the scenes. We can plug directly into FS Logix with our Azure NetApp files and provide you a tremendous user experience, right? The most important thing with virtual desktop is the user experience. When they click on something, if it takes longer than a couple seconds, you're gonna have your users upset and calling the help desk, right? We can provide a tremendous user experience on that. We've got metrics that'll show exactly what the experience will be for users. And the beauty of the Azure NetApp file storage underneath that is that we can automatically scale that up or scale that down, or even, we can use different service levels of that storage infrastructure to provide exactly the experience that your users need, and we can tailor it specifically. So great lead in from you, Al. And we've got lots of other things, right? We acquired a company called Spot about a year ago that's been absolutely amazing. I didn't know anything about them, but it allows you to basically manage your cloud infrastructure, including Azure. There's a piece of technology in Spot called Eco, which basically allows you to optimize your VM costs. So it can constantly monitor your VM usage, and it can also, it does basically analytics on it, artificial intelligence to analyze the on-demand and reserved and Spot instance pricing at any particular time, and basically automatically migrate to the proper virtual machine economic package, if you will, or consumption model. So now, if all that sounds, I mean, it all sounds futuristic, but it's actually happening today, and it's coming in the next several weeks. So this isn't something that we're talking about, next year we might have this. This is actually happening right now. And where Razor comes in, right? So that may sound simplistic. Okay, you've got a managed service, then why would you need other services on top of that? But where Razor comes in is they can help you with that journey to how to do that containerization, how to migrate all that stuff for you from on-premises into the cloud. And they can help you with essentially, analyzing your current environment that you've got on premises and what maybe makes the most sense to migrate into the cloud and actually do it for you and do it with you. So, that's where the relationship comes in. That's where the pairing with Razor has always been so valuable to us. And then add that, with the Microsoft relationship, and it's really is, we're doing amazing things right now. So welcome to the future. It's here. So with that, I'll turn it over to Al.
Yeah, as Tim talked about, Razor's role, in that partnership, and we're kind of the sunshine in this cloudy environment, right? We come in and kind of help, the customer bridge the gap. We use our expertise, our partnership, our knowledge of our partners' products, our relationships with our partners to really help our customers make the best decisions, and then help them, get the job done. If they want a hybrid cloud, or if they want to migrate entirely to the cloud, if they want a mix of public and private cloud, we're that partner that can help the customer in any way. And it's not always about you paying Razor to do something. A lot of times it's Razor working with your teams, you and your team, to help you take that journey. So it's always a collaborative approach that we try and interject. And our future is pretty bright because we have great partners. We have the people in place that understand the technology and help our customers bridge that gap. And we are that trusted partner to our customers, and we do everything we can to make sure that we kind of, like I say, we sit in the middle and help you reach out to the cloud providers to get your project completed and make sure that you're happy and your business runs the way it's supposed to. So I'm not going to be the one that stands between anyone and their chocolate. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jason.
Thank you, Al. I love it. And I was going to say, and we talked about it, that the future sounds pretty sweet. So you're more than welcome to pair your fine specialty Italian chocolates with the whiskey. Take your time, take it easy. Nice little sips here and there with some ice, and just feel it. Feel that you're alive, from these ancestors that I'm talking about. A kind of funny, joke is that, the Razor techs and the NetApps, they have the cloud, and, my ancestors are in the cloud, the spirits that guide me. I look for the signs of a feather, And, you know, these feathers, you know, come to you in certain times, certain signs, you know, to hopefully, you know, let us know that we're on the right path. And, you know, I truly believe in that kind of stuff, and very spiritual, but we're all, no matter what, if it's a spiritual or whatever, where we are all on a journey. You know, don't forget to celebrate during these, even though I know it's tough times, but don't forget to celebrate, you know, live life. You are alive, have fun, celebrate. And that's the key. And, you know, I didn't touch on the whiskey mash bill. If anybody's concerned or any questions, not concerned, questions that you have about the whiskey, I can hang on after this too. I just didn't want to totally take up a terrible amount of time talking whiskey and the mash bill and all the different nuances of it. But if you like, we can, you know, hang on a little bit afterwards as well. But any questions out there? Everybody pairing it with the chocolate?
I have a quick question. You said it's 2.5 years, and they're typically aged in oak barrels. I mean, when they're distilled, they have no color. Given the relatively young age, is the actual, you're getting that kind of color naturally in the barrels after 2 years?
Yeah, I don't add any color. I like to have all natural stuff. I actually have some more funner whiskeys that go up. And thank you for that question too, because you allow me to segue into the future after our sweet discussion. And but that's the natural color of it, and it's deep, it's rich. I'm super happy with it and proud of it that it was supposed to be 2. And you know, with the times that we're in with COVID and everything took a lot longer, and it ends up to be 2.5. It's 2, it says 2 year on the label, it does, you know, but it is that extra half a year. And I have stuff behind me that goes all the way up to 6 years. And you know, the future for Pops McCann, you know, ancestors and God willing here, because I need all the help I can get. And, you know, it's just great to be a part of this. This helps. You know, the whiskey is evolving, and I'm continuously looking for those solutions. And I have more whiskey on the way. I have some 5-year coming. I have some 8-year coming. I'm working on some other styles out of Ireland. I'm working on an Irish gin. Some more Irish whiskey styles that are, you know, bottled and labeled over there.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of things cooking, a lot of things, you know, coming, you know, but it's just like, you know, one step at a time. I have the 5 year is actually going to be a bourbon, similar to this. And then I have an 8-year, which is going to be possibly, I'm doing a Pops McCann Hero series where we honor the heroes of the past. A lot of the heroes I'll be honoring are from Philadelphia, like a Wild Bill Grenier is going to be the first one. Buddy of mine that was a Purple Heart recipient in Afghanistan is actually helping me. I'm letting him, I'm giving, I see this passion in his eyes. That's why sometimes, you know, us as leaders out there, sometimes you take a step back and you see someone else that has this creative side, and it's just going to be a nice story that I can get him to have the same creative mind that I have, but let him walk, you know, run with it. Yep. And develop this Wild Bill Grenier bottle, which is going to be pretty cool.
Are you actually subbing out the distillation and maturation to like a Wild Turkey or Jack Daniels or something like that, and then they give you the kegs on spec that you then bottle?
So I missed the first part of that. I couldn't hear that.
I'm saying, do you actually sub out on spec to a distillery? Like, I mean, there's obviously big distilleries in Tennessee, you know, Jack Daniels, Wild Turkey, and people like that.
Yes.
Do you sub out to them the actual distillation and aging?
No. So what I do is I source currently in the plans for the future Pops McCann. The plans are in the works of a small little mom and pops distillery type deal. Yeah. And, you know, start to put down my own Pennsylvania rye whiskey. Always want to source the Kentucky stuff. I have I do have a wheated bourbon that's not from Kentucky, but I like to have at least one thing that is, you know, the true bourbon from Kentucky. So right. I will always source. I'll source Irish whiskeys. I have a recipe that I'm developing for an Irish gin that'll be my own, but I work with other distillers and other partners. And I think that's why it's so key to work with partners in this business, because I'm like a one-man band, Bert from Mary Poppins. And it's like, you know, trying to play all these instruments and sound good at the same time. But I'm pretty upfront and honest of what I do, because I don't like to lead people down the wrong path. There's 9 times out of 10 it's sourced in the world, in the countries, you know, in the States. And you got vodka companies that source, you got rye, whiskeys, bourbons, all, you name it. If you're not Jack Daniels, Brown Forman, and Buffalo Trace and all them, most likely you're sourcing. And it's just sometimes people are not as upfront with it as I am. I like to sleep at night.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. Appreciate it. But you know, as we look for the past, and Jerry helped me get through the future a little bit, so I appreciate that, asking those questions, because there is a lot of things coming from Pops McCann. You know, I kind of carry these feathers. I put them in, you know, in the bottle, you know, to kind of remind me where I've been, where, you know, I'm currently at, and hopefully, you know, scratching and clawing of where I can be. And that's just not my talk. This is for everybody, of where everybody can be with using those easier buttons, partnerships, the help where we need it. And that's what I need, is I need, you know, God, you know, honestly, I need a lot of help, and it's tough, and trying to find the easier buttons, and especially in COVID times. And you know, I rely on touching the coal. You know, if you have any knickknacks of your family members, you know, this is an old woodpecker toothpick thing that my grandmother gave me. If you didn't really see that there, it's pretty cool. Got to get a paint job on it. You know, my grandmom's little knickknack penny purse, and just some pictures to realize that if my ancestors and all of our ancestors made it through what they made it through, I mean, we have it a little bit easier in the times that we have. You know, it's still a lot of uncertainty, but I recommend you maybe throw them around the house a little bit, or maybe put it on your desk at work, or your desk now at home, maybe, unfortunately, and just remind yourself that, you know, we can all get through this together and help each other, whether it's maybe whiskey and you joined in on this and you got this. But the tree of life is there to look at, and remember that you are alive, you are breathing that oxygen, your blood is pumping through the veins. And hopefully all and everyone stays healthy and happy and healthy, and celebrates the good times and the triumphs. And I think a lot of the discussions here are where we can celebrate future successes, and have a little fun with these little whiskey shows, you know.
Yeah, and Jason, you know, we brought this up last time, but hopefully, you know, we thought we'd be there by now, but, you know, our goal is definitely to do one of these in person sometime in the hopefully near future. You know, it seems, like I said, we hope that we would have been here by now last time we did this, but it definitely feels a lot closer than it did before. So, you know, I look forward to, not that I don't enjoy doing this on Zoom with all of you fine folks, but I would much rather do it in person. And hopefully that's another part that the future holds. We can all raise a glass together.
That's a great point, Tom. And I would love nothing more than that. Maybe it's everybody, it's an Uber ride, and we can taste all 5 whiskeys one day. Because one of the biggest things that I do is I feel the great energy in the room of all the great people, and I can see the faces, and I can see, you know, everybody that's doing so exceptional in their careers, and has come so far, you know, just like me, or, you know, maybe a little bit before me or a little bit behind me, but we can feel all each other's energy and have this great energy ball, and actually do the great toast, the ancestors toast all together, and feel something powerful. And hopefully we all leave here as friends, you know, and continue the dialogue, and hopeful to, you know, pour more whiskeys or ship more whiskeys to you, everyone, and enjoy them. Maybe, you know, it's a plenty of a bottle, so you can enjoy some with anybody 21 plus in your family. And you know, maybe, you know, the visualization for me is if you're sitting at a kitchen table, and, you know, you have maybe a picture of grandpop out, Pops, or more importantly, the mom or the grandmom that had to put up with Pops, because Pops was a pain, you know, that he probably drank too much whiskey like John Francis McCann did, aka Jack. And but we can honor them and just look at those pictures and be like, yeah, you know, look how far I've come. And I've been hitting some roller coasters lately where I've been hitting them down, and it's kind of like I'm coming. I got to come back up. I went for a run right before this Zoom, and it's I'm looking at these pictures again, and you got to get back into that right mindset of where we are and stay hungry and just raise a toast to the heavens, raise a toast to the skies, to just, even if the spirits are there or not or whatever, I believe in it. You raise that to the heavens, and you hope for the best, and you know, we get all through this. So
Tom, I'm with you. If we do this in person, we need to have one of those whiskey thing giveaways. Yeah, whiskey suitcase giveaway, man. That's the grand prize.
The cloud
Jason,
and the ancestors are your friends, right?
Absolutely. There's a question in the chat about local availability. I know the story, but if you want to talk just for a second about where you can get your fine whiskey.
So this original,
instead of Pennsylvania.
I have 5 of them now. I have the original Pops McCann that came from French corn, distilled in Agent Ireland, sent on the ships like the ancestors, goes through Quebec and Canada like Prohibition, and down and bottled in Michigan. That came like that spiritual, this crazy journey, talking about journeys of the past, present, future of technology and whiskey. That one was on a wild, you know, goose chase of a journey. I have 4 amazing new whiskeys. I have the Feather in the Cap is the next one after the original. 75 corn, 21 rye, and 4% barley, if anybody didn't get the mash bill. And then there's 3 others, and you can find them on my website, popsmccannwhiskey.com, or anything social media is at popsmccannwhiskey. The 4 new Americans I can deliver to you directly with an order if you live in Pennsylvania. You can put an order in with me. We can exchange emails. I can send you pricing if you like it. There's some other fun ones that I can't wait to get into with everyone, hopefully in the future. And but if you live in Delaware, all 5 are available in Delaware in select stores. We just started there 2 weeks ago. And in Jersey, I only have the original in New Jersey right now, hoping to get the new ones available soon. But it may take some time. It's the whole 3 wholesaler, getting distribution and getting a lot of things have to take place sometimes, and it's kind of the nuances of my business are pretty crazy.
I can imagine so.
All right.
Any other questions out there? Anybody want to have an open discussion about anything, technology? Any questions about Razor, NetApp, Microsoft, anything out there? The chocolate, the foods?
This chocolate is excellent, by the way. It pairs really well with the whiskey.
That's great. Anything else? Toby, would you like to say anything to end this?
No, I think that it was a good discussion. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the whiskey and the treats.
Great. Well, thank you everyone for coming on with Razor and NetApp, Microsoft and Azure, in whiskey in the clouds. I hope you had a fun time. You learned something on all the spectrums here. And I wish every one of you well on your journey in technology, in whiskey, in specialty foods, and on any journey that is going to be in your walking path soon. All the best.
And just one other thing real quick is we are going to have another one of these coming up in about 30 days. So just keep an eye out for that invite as well.
Fantastic.
Thanks,
Thanks everyone for joining. Appreciate it.
Great to see everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Much appreciated. And we'll see you next time.